special meeting. It's with our auditor. It's December 13th, 2023, and the time is 1:31 p.m. I'm calling this meeting to order in attendance our commissioners and there are changes to the agenda, except for the one I have. I would like to add an executive session, 1D, at the end of this, and it would just be between the commissioners and our legal counsel. So that, and it's regarding a particular resolution that we've not been able to.
Sure.
Okay. I'll take a motion.
You said 1D. I move that we enter into executive session 1D.
Add it to the agenda.
Oh, I move that we add to the agenda. Second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Thanks for the catch.
Aye. Yeah. All right, public comments. Did we have public here? No. Oh, okay. Now our fair financials reporting and led by our finance director, Brandy Falcon.
Good afternoon, Brandy Falcon for the record. I'm just going to start off by reading the memo into the record. This pretty much covers everything that we want to be today. So I'm going to read it, and then afterwards we can discuss this one as well for discussion. Commissioners, as you may be aware, there has been recent attention and scrutiny regarding Bonner County Fair. As a result, many counties in Idaho are taking a closer look at the relationship between the county fair and the county. I, Bailey, was hired by Bonner County to perform a legal and accounting analysis of their fair, and to determine if the fair is an independent financial reporting entity or if they are part of the financial reporting entity of the county, as either a fund of the county or a component of the county. The report states that the Bonner County Fair is not a separate legal organization from the county, and therefore does not qualify as a component unit and must be considered and reported as a fund of the county. I, Bailey, received permission from a Bonner County attorney to share the written report regarding the Bonner County Fair in order to help us further evaluate the Kootenai County Fair's financial reporting. This report is a Bonner County record, therefore any requests to view this report must be made directly to Bonner County. I emailed this report to you, the Commissioner's staff, to share with you, and I've also printed copies today for your review. It is a thorough analysis of both Idaho statute and the codification of governmental accounting and financial reporting standards. As you know, I, Bailey, is the same audit firm that we have hired to perform our own annual independent audit. Last week, the auditor's office wrapped up our FY23 independent audit fieldwork, and tomorrow, Jody Doherty, the partner in charge for my Bailey, will be meeting with you for our big audit exit conference to review the fieldwork and answer any questions you may have. As a result of their analysis performed on the Bonner County, I, Bailey, has increased scrutiny on us, the Kootenai County, and how we report the fair in our annual financial statement. Kootenai County is receiving an audit finding for 2023. Our finding is due to the fact that we have always reported our fair as a component unit in our financial statement. Component units are legally separate organizations for which the county is financially accountable. Since 1995, Kootenai County has reported the fair as a component unit. However, this year, I, Bailey, has determined that the fair is not a separate legal organization and therefore does not qualify to be reported as a component unit. Our legal counsel, Dave Ferguson, has reviewed the I, Bailey report on Bonner County in its entirety, as well as the applicable Idaho statutes, and has agreed that the Kootenai County Fair is not a separate legal organization from Kootenai County. That means from an accounting perspective, if the fair is not a separate legal organization, they do not qualify to be reported as a component unit and must be considered a fund of the county. So I've also provided you guys a printout example from our financial statements, highlighted showing how in the past we've always reported the fair and rodeo in its own column with its own fiscal year as a component unit next to the annual district. Now it's going to be moved over and reported combined in our governmental activities with all of the other funds on the yes, beginning in fiscal year 24. For 2023, we're going to have to accept the audit finding because we don't have time to combine their financial reports. So as a result of the audit findings, going forward in FY24 and thereafter, we will be reporting the fair as a fund of the county. The consequence of this is that the fair will need to change their fiscal year to align with the county, and Council Dave Ferguson agreed this change will need to be made via a board resolution. I've already discussed this with Alexia Jordan and the finance chair of the Fair Board, and although this will increase their workload in September and October, they agreed it does make sense to align with the county's fiscal year if they will no longer be reported as a component unit. In addition, we are requesting the BOCC authorize Hyde Bailey to add the fair to our annual audit beginning in FY24. This will ensure that all of the county's funds are audited by the same firm, and also helps ensure that my office will continue to issue our financials in a timely fashion. The auditor's office did seek legal counsel in order to properly understand our role in regards to the financial operations of the fair. After review, we learned the fair is given a large amount of administrative autonomy in statute, as well as some financial autonomy. For example, the fair is charged with the care and custody of property used for fair purposes. They can write checks, employ labor, and the fair board is required to maintain custody of all fair monies. However, they are not given legal autonomy from Kootenai County. I'm going to defer to Dave on that point. It is important that county commissioners understand that the county fair is not a separate legal body, but rather part of the legal entity of Kootenai County. The fair is a hybrid combination in that they are under the authority of the BOCC, yet they do maintain their own administrative duties. Therefore, the clerk and the auditor's office have no statutory authority or oversight of county fair operations or financials. The auditor's office is not authorized to impose or enforce any financial, budgetary, or internal controls over the county fair, and legal counsel has confirmed this. For example, the fair receives their own revenues, pays invoices, issues payroll, and maintains their bank accounts, completely separate from the auditor's office and the treasurer's office. Neither the auditor's office nor the treasurer have any knowledge of the fair's financials. In statute, the county is given authority to administer the operations of the county fair once the county's population exceeds 200,000. This is done via an ordinance, and the fair board then would be an advisory board. At that point, if the commissioners chose to pass the ordinance, then the auditor's office would be required to impose the same financial, budgetary, and internal controls on the fair that we already require for all of our other county departments. For example, in that case, all the fair revenues, invoices, and payroll would be processed through the auditor's office, and the treasurer would take over control of the fair's bank account. After speaking with Ada and Canyon County, both of them have chosen this route and do administer the operations of their county fairs, since their population is over 200,000. However, unless this ordinance is passed, the auditor and treasurer are not authorized to impose any oversight or control over the fair's financials. In conclusion, since legal has determined that the fair is not a separate legal body from the county, they will no longer be reported as a component unit, but rather combined as a fund of the county. The fair is under the oversight of the BOCC, and the offices of the clerk and treasurer are not authorized to impose any financial control or oversight of the state. Well, thank you. So, at this point, Alexia is here, Adult Relations, and Jerry, myself, Keith. So if anyone has any questions, I just wanted to make you aware that we are getting a finding and do my best to explain why the fair did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong. It's just how we've been reporting them in combination with our financials. I hope that made sense.
Going back, I think that when an evolution like that's not what part of it is only such a piece or such an important issue.
Yeah, since the fair is given so much authority in statute, it's a little confusing. Like I said, they can't, they maintain their own financials and everything. So it kind of leads you to think they're a separate entity. But, Dave did agree they are not a separate legal body. I believe some of those reasons were they can't act without board of your authority, and you appoint all their board members. So two of the main things I remember from that discussion. You guys have any questions? Okay.
This is lots which is out organic. There's no reason to do restatements.
No, just going forward.
So I think we've demonstrated pretty well the process works. That doing some, take a look at it, find an issue, and work towards correction. So I think this is actually a very positive step forward.
It is. It shows Hyde Bailey's doing their job. Before they were finding that they had a unit until they took a closer look at Bonner County, and then they came to Kootenai County and said, we think that this needs to change. And, Dave agreed. So, yeah. I did want to bring up Alexia that you guys had asked for an AG's opinion, right? Yeah, they wanted an AG opinion on whether or not the fair is a separate legal entity. Dave had said that. Well, you can elaborate what you said to me, but basically it would probably be Brayden to handle that if it does go forward.
Oh yeah, I mean, AG's opinion is just a big. It seems like I'm not assigned to represent the fair. Brayden is. It seems like if there are specific legal questions about any of these particular issues, and some of the conclusions in here, there's more analysis that given some emails back and forth at the auditor's office that I think most if not all of the fair board's questions can be answered. I did share my opinions with Pat. If they want to bring their concerns to Pat, I think that's a good place to start. I doubt the AG would jump in on some issues that really haven't been reviewed by the Fair's legal counsel. Seems like that's a good place to start. None of these issues are really novel or particularly complex. The fair statutes are fairly straightforward, so it seems like Pat's well equipped to answer these questions. Whatever questions they might have.
I have a question. What basis do you think, I realize you're kind of guessing here, that would, previous board would think that it was okay to have a fair created as its own separate unit, as opposed under the direction of the board if the statute's so clear?
I don't know. I don't have to answer that exactly. Yeah. The way I understand the term component unit, it's an accounting term. It's not really a legal term. That term, as far as I can tell, was never defined anywhere. The fair operates under the authority given to it by Idaho Codes. There's some very specific provisions in there about things that it must do and things that it needs authority from the board to. It's similar in some respects to a separate taxing district, but it doesn't have complete authority like a highway district, because it is still part of the town. So, like I said, most of these issues are directly answered by the statutes, and when they're not, sort of look at the overall scheme of the statutes and come up with a pretty good justified answer. So, it's not quite accurate to say, well, it's completely separate. It needs to be separate in some respects, for any outlines. But in some other respects, like approval of the board, or members of the board, fair board, or approval of the budget, that is up to the board of commissioners. So,
to me, what's happening is that the Idaho statutes are very clear in days on the job constantly. But then you have county standards that don't contemplate the structure of Idaho code, and that's what we're doing right here.
Yeah.
And then without specific Idaho statute code correcting us how to account for it, I think Brian's going to rely by Bailey to give us, okay, what are you about?
Yeah, I think I was just trying to understand. It looks like back in the 90s, it was an accounting decision and not a legal decision. Is it probably what drove us to where we are today?
Back in the 90s, as relates to the accounts.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we did our best that we could find why the decision was made to report the component expansion. That's how we did it.
Right. Well, that all makes sense to me. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm never people at the right.
You're on the fair board.
Yes. The AG opinion thing, we were just looking for clarification and maybe unity, because a lot of times when we have questions in Idaho, how they're doing things, with financial reporting or different things, and almost every county is doing it a little different.
They are.
So AG opinion may not be the right road to go down, but some are still reporting as component units. Some counties don't report their fare at all in their financials, which I would assume that with these audit findings will cease to happen, but I don't know what the mechanism is to get some clarity and statewide level of what is appropriate.
I think you might find that's really why Bailey reporting the record is supposed to be financial presentation standpoint. So to me, that's that correlation. This is how it should be statewide. And maybe it would challenge, I don't know.
It's interesting that I Bailey did it years ago. Tim Brandon had I Bailey do a forensic audit on the fair board book, which didn't find anything. So why it's taken this long for them to come up with this when they've been looking at the county books? We're audited every year. Typically, it's been magazine Q. The fiscal year thing causes you guys some grief because they don't fall to us.
Yeah.
I mean, we have no problem with however you want to proceed. It's just kind of funny that Bailey's been looking at this for years, and why all of a sudden they both this for them now.
And one of the things that the board is they could go ahead and reject Bailey's opinion on gap and continue to do it the way that we've been doing it and live with what would likely be finding each and every year. I mean, that is an alternative.
Where it does have consequences. You know that from if we want to go out for bond, having ongoing audit findings is a really big deal. It prohibits us from certain the activities. Also, we're the largest government agency in North Idaho. Steve has said before, we should have a fortress balance sheet. I believe that we should have the best financials of any government agency, and so I'm not comfortable getting an audit finding and ignoring it. That's ultimately your decision as a board. I think as professionals, we want to do what we can to correct any, errors or processes that really make it. So.
Another option that I guess we can consider the board particularly there is we go to the legislature and have them change the law that requires or allows the county to continue to present the component unit and then we would use, I don't know, statute.
The fair, as you said, is kind of weird favorite, and it does present a lot of challenges from the perspective, of doing business wise. We're really a government agency, but we're also our own legal entity. So and I know a lot of other fair not state statutes. So we're from the fair board perspective, we're happy to do whatever needs to be done. It's not making any suggestions of not complying with findings or, we're happy. It's very challenging for us to go through it 1 month after our biggest annual event. So I'm hoping we can work with Ed Bailey and Randy to schedule some, field work interim before this, so we have less to test or different things, but we're absolutely want to be in compliance. We don't want to, we just, as Jerry said, we went through a forensic audit with Ed Bailey. They said, yeah, you're good to go. So we just always.
And then just to let you know, I think what triggered this was the Bonner County Fair Board asked Bailey to do analysis of statute and code in the fair. And so it's the talk, I think, throughout the whole other counties, but the accounting world too right now, particularly in Idaho.
And I don't know if the forensic audit of fair would have looked into how we're reporting that. So I don't know that, I think, and that could be misspeaking, that it would be an in-depth look into how you guys are doing your financials, not necessarily how we're reporting them. So
Same with any of our departments.
Right.
If we had a forensic audit can be airports. It really show that extra step to say. I'm happy to comply with Bailey's recommendation, especially because we're going to hit 200,000 in a few years. So we might as well start that process now before it becomes at least the line this year. Yeah.
And the 200,000 is not mandated. It's a choice. Okay.
So Bailey will, Jody, the partner on our audit, present to you tomorrow. I'll be next day. So you have a day to think about everything and to come up with further questions as well. So it was all great.
Yep.
So I'm going to close the public comment again before we go. In here, if you would consider making the fair chicken, you would let me finish the fair but maybe a later date, and they probably need a month or so, we can consider that. Lexi said they're getting ready to go out anyways to look for a new auditor.
Yeah.
So if we were going to spring it before the visit, okay. Yeah, I thought if you're still, yeah, okay, but that's okay. Okay, we'll work on bringing that. Okay. Great, thank you.
You want a motion? Yes. I move that we enter into executive session for the statute 74-2061B. I second the motion.
No, for the
Aye. Aye.
Aye.